Hello friends, welcome to today's daily devotion. I'm Kerry Wood at the Goldston Methodist Church in Goldston, North Carolina, and we're continuing to explore John Wesley's rules for money, and in particular rule number 3, to give all that we can. Today we're looking in the Old Testament at Psalm 112, starting in verse 5 and reading through verse 9. Hear now these words. Good will come to those who are generous and lend freely, who conduct their affairs with justice. Surely the righteous will never be shaken. They will be remembered forever. They will have no fear of bad news. Their hearts are steadfast, trusting in the Lord. Their hearts are secure. They will have no fear. In the end, they will look in triumph on their foes. They have freely scattered their gifts to the poor. Their righteousness endures forever. Their horn will be lifted high in honor. Now, if you're paying careful attention to these daily devotions, you will recognize a phrase from today's daily devotion showing up in yesterday's daily Devo. For the Apostle Paul, when he wrote to the church in Corinth, and what I read yesterday, he quotes from this psalm, Psalm 112. They have freely scattered their gifts to the poor. Their righteousness endures forever. But today we're looking at the larger context of what this psalm is saying, and what this psalm is telling us, both from hundreds of years ago all the way through to now, is that our righteousness, our ability to act in a good and godly manner, is directly tied to our willingness to be generous people, to be givers, those who are generous and lend freely. Now, a lot is made about the idea of not being in debt, but yet here we're seeing that we can be lending freely to others. And what that really means is that I am not lending with the expectation that I'm going to get back what I've given with interest, but I am doing it freely, without the expectation that anything that I give away will ever come back to me. And here's the great and crazy part of it all. When we give without any expectation of return, God takes care of the return, and we always will have as much as we ever need, and we will be blessed with the ability to give even more. This is what John Wesley discovered in his own life. When he began his time as a pastor in the Anglican Church, he received something along the neighborhood of 30 pounds a month. And he said, I'm going to live on this 30 pounds a month. And 60-something odd years later, John Wesley was still living on that same 30-ish pounds per month, even though he was earning a whole lot more. He was receiving a tremendous income from the sales of all of his writings, of all the things that he had published. And what did he do with all of that excess money? You guessed it, he gave it away. John Wesley, when he died, he had very, very little left. Why? Because he gave it all away in his lifetime. Because he knew nothing that he had in this earth belonged to him. It belonged to the Lord, and he might as well give it away, because when this time on this planet is done, we're not taking any of it with us. That's what the psalmist understood. Those who have freely scattered their gifts to the poor, their righteousness endures, not temporarily, not for a day or two, a month or two, a century or two, forever. Their horn will be lifted high in honor. The horn is a symbol for their dignity, for their value, for their ability to be godly in their behavior. This is what I want to strive for, and I encourage you to do it as well. Be one who conducts your affair with justice, with generosity, with joy. And I'll see you tomorrow for another daily devotion.